Babe, my boss just ripped me a new one over Slack. I need a hug. I was curled up on the sofa, whining to my girlfriend like a little kid, complaining about the new CEO I'd never met but whose reputation alone made the whole company shake in their boots. She stroked my hair gently. Poor baby. Don't worry, I'll tear them a new one for you tomorrow. The next day, my hands trembling, I pushed open the door to the CEO's office. And there she was, the girl who made me a special breakfast last night, who pouted until I gave her a kiss, was sitting in the executive chair, dressed in a sharp power suit, an icy expression on her face. Her red lips parted slightly. Come here. What? Is it too late to quit? I'm just another corporate drone. I work as a designer at a decent enough company, pulling 9-to-9s and slacking off when I can. The absolute best part of my life is my girlfriend, Sophie, who is cute enough to cause a global crisis. Sophie is 2 years younger than me, and she's incredibly sweet. She has these huge eyes that crinkled into crescents when she smiled, and a little dimple in one cheek. Her personality is just soft. She loves to cuddle, is a little bit ditzy, and happens to be an amazing cook. We've been living together for 6 months, and our life has been pure sweetness. I often feel like I must have won the lottery 100 times over to find a girlfriend like her. The best part of my day is coming home, seeing her pop her head out of the kitchen, wearing an apron, and smiling. You're back. Dinner's almost ready. Or cuddling on the sofa, her head resting on my chest, watching some trashy reality TV and making fun of everyone on it. She'll pout if I have to work late, but a single latte can make her grin from ear to ear. This, I thought, is what happiness is. Simple, quiet, and filled with a million tiny, warm moments. I always thought she was a freelance illustrator. She worked from home, so her schedule was flexible. That's why she was always there when I got home from work, always taking care of me in every little way. I even felt a little bad for her, thinking I needed to work harder and make more money so she wouldn't have to stress. It never once crossed my mind that behind all of this was a truth that would completely shatter my reality. The atmosphere at work has been tense lately. The long-rumored new CEO was finally starting. Word was she was a real heavy hitter from corporate, a ruthless professional with a killer reputation. We all secretly called her the Ice Queen. That nickname alone was enough to give our department heads insomnia. As a small fry on a corporate ladder, I knew the sky wouldn't fall on me first, but I was still nervous. I was terrified she'd come and wanted to make a statement, and our department would be the first to get hit with double the overtime and a workload from hell. On Monday morning, my manager, Henderson, called an emergency meeting. His face was grim as he passed down the orders from on high. The new CEO demanded a completely revised annual strategy report from every department by the end of the week. The standards were sky high, the tone non-negotiable. After the meeting, a cloud of gloom descended over the entire department. Well, we're screwed. She's definitely trying to make an example of us. I heard she's merciless. She made the director at the branch office cry in a meeting last month. Good luck, everyone. The good old days are over. Listening to my colleagues moan, my stomach was in knots. Back at my desk, staring at the mountain of work, the pressure felt immense. I couldn't help but pull out my phone and shoot Sophie a text. Babe, the new boss is here and I think I'm going to die from the workload. Help! She replied almost instantly. Ah, poor thing. I'll make you my special pot roast tonight to cheer you up. Her message was like a ray of sunshine. My Sophie was the best, the sweetest comfort in my exhausting life. A few hours of cuddling with her tonight, and I could face any Ice Queen. I didn't get home until after 9. The second I opened the door, the smell of delicious food hit me. Sophie came running over in her fluffy bunny pajamas and took my bag. You're home. Long day. She stood on her tiptoes and gave me a kiss on the cheek, her eyes sparkling. In that 1 second, the exhaustion from the entire day just melted away. I wrapped my arms around her, resting my chin on the top of her head and taking a deep breath. She smelled faintly of vanilla. Yeah, I need to recharge. She laughed and pushed me away playfully. Go wash your hands, dinner's getting cold. Sure enough, my favorite pot roast was on the table, glistening and mouth-watering. There were also a few simple side salads and a bowl of tomato soup. I dug in, barely looking up from my plate. She sat across from me, her chin resting in her hands, watching me with a smile. Slow down, no one's going to steal it from you. It's so good. My girl is the best cook in the world. I set my mouth full. Her eyes curved into happy little crescents. She loved the praise. After dinner, I did the dishes while she chattered away next to me, telling me about her day. The grocery store downstairs had a sale on chips, so she bought a ton. The little succulent she was growing seemed to have gotten a tiny bit bigger. They were all trivial little things, but the way she told them made them sound fascinating. After cleaning up, we curled up on the sofa. I held her and started venting. This new boss hasn't even shown her face yet, and she's already got the whole company in a panic. They say she's super aggressive and her standards are insane. I think life is about to get a lot harder. She snuggled into my chest, playing with my fingers, and whispered, "Don't be scared. My boyfriend is amazing. He can handle anything. And if she bullies you, I'll go yell at her." She made a tiny, ferocious fist. She didn't look threatening at all. She just looked ridiculously cute. Her antics made me laugh. I leaned down and kissed her forehead. "Okay, you'll protect me." The dark cloud of work stress completely vanished. Having her here was all I needed. The next few days were, as predicted, a complete nightmare. The new CEO hadn't officially summoned us, but her presence was felt everywhere. Reports were revised again and again, proposals rejected time after time. Henderson's face grew darker each day, and a low-pressure system settled over the office. Even slacking off for 5 minutes felt like a luxury. My time with Sophie was cut drastically. I'd come home late several nights to find her already asleep, a warm plate of food left on the table with a cute post-it note with a little drawing cheering me on. I'd leave for work in the morning before she was awake, quietly making her breakfast before I left. Even though we saw less of each other, her support was constant. A text here and there. "Are you tired? Don't forget to drink water." Or she'd surprise me by having a coffee delivered to the office with a note that read, "For the most amazing boyfriend in the world." These little surprises always managed to ease my anxiety at just the right moment. On Friday evening, I finally got to leave work on time. When I walked in the door, I found Sophie staring into her closet. Several outfits were laid out on the bed, all of them looking very formal. "What's up? Going somewhere?" I asked. She jumped, startled. She turned around, a strange look on her face. "Oh, and no, not at all." She quickly walked over and pushed me out of the bedroom. "Go take a shower. You smell like the office." It was a little weird, but I didn't think much of it. When I came out of the shower, she had put all the clothes away and was back in her usual comfy sweats, my soft, sweet girl again. We ordered takeout and watched a movie. She seemed a little distracted, though. Her phone screen lit up several times, and she glanced at it, typing back quick, hurried replies. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Yup, just a difficult client. Asking about a project, but it's all sorted out now." She put her phone down and threw herself into my arms. "Let's focus on the movie." I held her, a strange feeling creeping into my gut, but I was quickly absorbed by the movie and forgot about it. The weekend was our usual routine, staying in, cooking, cleaning, playing video games. She was her normal self, pouting and being goofy, and just unbelievably cute. That little flicker of weirdness I'd felt was pushed to the back of my mind. On Monday, the new CEO officially started. The entire company was on high alert. At 10 a.m., the meeting with all the senior and mid-level managers ended. When Henderson came back to our department, his face was white as a sheet. He called us in for a quick huddle, his voice hoarse. "Ms. Rose is requiring every department head to present a work summary, starting this afternoon." He paused, then added, "That includes key project leads." The office fell silent. Ms. Rose said she wants to get a deep understanding of the company's business and talent structure. Henderson's eyes scanned over the few of us who were project leads. "Leo, you're the lead designer for Project Aurora. 3 o'clock this afternoon, you're coming with me." My brain buzzed. So soon? I was going to have to face the Ice Queen in person? Even though I was just there for backup, the thought of the rumored meeting made my palms sweat. I barely had an appetite for lunch. I sent Sophie a text. "Have to go see the new boss this afternoon. So nervous." Her reply was slow this time, coming half an hour later. "Don't be scared. Just pretend she's a giant potato. You got this. I believe in you." A giant potato? What kind of metaphor was that? I looked at my phone and couldn't help but smile. It actually did make me feel a little better. I took a deep breath and pumped myself up. I'll just deal with whatever comes my way. What's there to be afraid of? 2:50 in the afternoon. Henderson and I stood outside the CEO's office. He straightened his tie for the third time and whispered to me, "Don't say much. Just answer what you're asked, and don't volunteer anything." I nodded nervously. After the secretary announced us, we took a deep breath and walked in. The office was huge, decorated in a minimalist, cool-tone style that screamed corporate efficiency. Behind a massive desk, a woman in a black power suit stood with her back to us, looking out the floor-to-ceiling window at the city skyline. The executive chair she was in was so large it made her seem almost slender, but her presence filled the room. "Ms. Rose, Mr. Henderson and Leo from the design department are here," the secretary said softly. The chair slowly swiveled around. When I saw the face behind the desk, I felt all the blood in my body rush to my head and then drain away just as quickly, leaving me ice cold. My brain shut down, blank. My eyes widened, my breath caught in my throat. The world went silent. The only sound, the deafening pounding of my own heart. Thump, thump, thump. That face. Elegant, aloof, her makeup flawless. Her eyes were sharp, devoid of any emotion except professional scrutiny. Her red lips were pressed into a thin, cold line. This face. It was without a doubt my sweet, adorable girlfriend who cuddled with me, who wore bunny pajamas and made me pot roast. It was Sophie. I froze on the spot, feeling like I'd been struck by lightning, unable to think, unable to move. Henderson was next to me, respectfully giving his report, but I couldn't hear a single word. My world had shrunk to that one familiar, yet completely alien face. Her, Sophie Ms. Rose, my ultimate boss, the legendary Ice Queen. How is this possible? Am I hallucinating? This has to be a dream. Yes, I've been working too hard. I'm seeing things. I reflexively pinched my own thigh. Hard. Ouch. The sharp pain was very real. This was not a dream. This was happening. Leo. A cold voice cut through my haze, devoid of any warmth, a world away from the soft, sweet voice I heard every night. I snapped back to reality and saw both Henderson and Ms. Rose looking at me. Henderson's eyes were pleading, urgent, and Ms. Rose's eyes held nothing but detached impatience. She tapped the polished surface of the desk with her knuckle. Your report. I finally realized Henderson was signaling me to hand over the project report in my hands. My palms were slick with sweat. I moved like a robot, walking forward and placing the file on her desk. My movements were stiff, unnatural. As I got closer, I could smell the faint, cold scent of her perfume. It was nothing like the sweet, vanilla-scented body wash she used at home. This woman, from head to toe, from her expression to her scent, was terrifyingly unfamiliar. Only her face was the same. She looked down, flipping through the report, the line of her jaw tight. The pressure in the room was suffocating. Henderson held his breath. I stood there, my mind still a chaotic mess, unable to function. A million questions exploded in my head. Why? Why did she lie to me? She's my boss. Why did she pretend to be unemployed? Did she laugh to herself every time I complained about work, about my boss? Were all those comforting words, all that encouragement, just an act? A wave of humiliation and anger, the feeling of being deceived and made a fool of, began to bubble up, washing away the initial shock. She must have felt me staring because she glanced up at me. Her gaze was cold and sharp, with a hint of a warning. I instinctively looked away, my heart clenching even tighter. What the hell is going on? This is the final version you came up with after 5 revisions? She finally spoke. Her voice was flat, betraying no emotion, but it carried an undeniable weight. Beads of sweat instantly formed on Henderson's forehead. Why, yes, Ms. Rose. We took all the previous feedback into full consideration. Feedback. She cut him off, tossing the report back onto the desk with a soft but startling thud. It looks to me like you have no idea what a user pain point even is. She leaned forward slightly, her eyes sweeping over both of us. The UI is superficial, the UX logic is a complete mess, and the data supporting it is laughably thin. Is this the standard of the design department's core project? She spoke slowly, but every word hit like a shard of ice. Mr. Henderson, if this is the best your team can deliver, I think you need to reevaluate their positions. Henderson's face turned pale. He started apologizing profusely. I'm so sorry, Ms. Rose. We'll take it back and rework it immediately. I promise. I promise next time. There is no next time, she said coldly. I want to see a new, truly acceptable proposal by 10 m. tomorrow. Otherwise, the entire project team is replaced. Henderson's words died in his throat. His lips trembled, but he didn't dare say another word. I stood there, listening to her ruthlessly tear apart the project I had poured my heart and soul into. Those cold words, coming from her expressionless face, felt exceptionally harsh. I suddenly remembered, just last week, I had excitedly explained my initial concept to her. She had been curled up in my arms, her big eyes wide with admiration, and said, "Wow, that's amazing. It sounds brilliant." And now, I looked at the woman in front of me, who was dismissing my work as worthless. A sense of absurdity and intense humiliation washed over me. I felt like a complete and utter fool. "You can go," she said to Henderson. He looked like he'd been granted a pardon, nearly bowing as he backed out of the room. Before he left, he shot me a look that screamed, "Good luck, you'll need it." The office door clicked shut. Now it was just the two of us. The air felt thick, heavy. I stood rigidly in place, my eyes fixed on the floor, not daring to look at her, not knowing what expression I should be wearing. My heart hammered against my ribs. What would she say? Admit who she is? Explain everything? Or continue to speak to me as Ms. Rose? My palms were sweating again. She didn't speak, just looked at me. Her gaze felt physical, burning into my face, making me feel exposed and ashamed. The seconds ticked by, each one an eternity of torture. Finally, she stood up. The click-clack of her heels on the polished floor was sharp and clear as she walked toward me. I instinctively took half a step back. That small movement seemed to amuse her. I saw the corner of her mouth twitch into a fleeting smirk before her expression turned to ice again. She stopped a foot away from me. "Leo," she said my name. Her tone was still level cold. "Look at me." I stiffly raised my head and met her gaze. Her eyes were just as beautiful as they were at home, but right now, they held no smile, no warmth, only a bottomless scrutiny and a flicker of something I couldn't quite decipher. Amusement? Maybe? "Do you have any thoughts on my critique?" she asked, all business. What thoughts could I possibly have? My mind was a tangled mess. All I wanted to do was grab her by the shoulders and demand to know what the hell was going on. But what little rationality I had left clamped down on that impulse. This was the office. She was the CEO. I was just a nobody employee. My throat was dry. And no, I managed to croak out. "You're right, Ms. Rose. We'll revise it immediately." "Good," she said, seeming satisfied with my answer. "You're a core member of this project. I expect to see your value." She walked a slow circle around me, as if she were inspecting a piece of equipment. This company doesn't pay for mediocrity, and it certainly doesn't pay for dead weight. Do you understand? Her words hit me like a slap across the face. My cheeks burned. "I understand." I squeezed out through gritted teeth. "You may go." She walked back to her desk, sat down, and picked up another file, not even glancing at me again, as if I were a trivial matter that had already been dealt with. I practically ran out of that suffocating office. Back at my desk, I was still in a daze. My coworkers shot me looks of pity and curiosity. Someone whispered, asking how it went. I just shook my head numbly, unable to speak. Henderson called me into his office a moment later, looking like he'd just survived a natural disaster. That was terrifying. "Ms. Rose's presence is..." He wiped sweat from his brow. "Anyway, don't let it get to you. Just start thinking about how to fix the proposal." He patted my shoulder. "Looks like it's going to be an all-nighter." I nodded, feeling nothing. For the rest of the afternoon, my mind was elsewhere. My work efficiency was zero. The lines and colors on my monitor blurred into a meaningless jumble. The scene in her office played on a loop in my head. Her cold expression, her sharp eyes, her ruthless words. They kept overlapping with the image of the sweet, soft girl at home, tearing my perception of reality to shreds. Just before quitting time, my phone lit up. It was a text from Sophie. "What do you want for dinner tonight?" "I bought some shrimp, your favorite." Smiling face with hearts. I stared at the message, at the familiar, cute emoji, and felt a bitter wave of irony wash over me. How could she do that? After how she treated me in the office, just hours ago. How could she text me like nothing happened, using that tone? What does she take me for? Some idiot boyfriend she can summon and dismiss at will? Or a subordinate she can toy with for her own amusement? A suffocating anger began to boil in my chest. I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering over the keyboard, unsure of what to say. Finally, I took a deep breath, pushing down my emotions, and typed out a few words. Have to work late tonight. Don't wait up. I needed time to cool down. I needed space to process this whole absurd situation. I needed to figure out what the hell was going on. Her reply came quickly. Overtime again? You poor thing. Hugging face, I'll save a shrimp for you for tomorrow then. Don't stay up too late, and don't forget to think of me. Face blowing kiss. I looked at the lines of concerned, cutesy text. If I hadn't just experienced what I had, I would never have believed they were from the same person. Just how many faces did she have? That night, I really did pull an all-nighter, partly because of the pressure to deliver a new proposal, and partly because I honestly had no idea how to face her. I needed to clear my head. The office was brightly lit. Henderson and a few others from the project team were also there, a grim mood hanging over us. I forced myself to focus, to dive into my work. But her face kept popping into my mind. The cold one, the soft one, alternating, taunting me. Every time I felt like I was making progress, the confusion and absurdity would derail my thoughts. She sent a few more texts during the night. Baby's still busy. Ordered you some late-night food. Make sure you eat. Look, the cat misses you. The picture was of her holding our ragdoll cat, making a goofy face at the camera. In the background was our familiar, warm, and cozy living room. It was a stark contrast to the cold, oppressive office I was in. My heart was a mess of conflicting emotions, bitterness, confusion, and a tiny, almost imperceptible sliver of hurt. I didn't reply. I didn't know how to act around her anymore. Should I keep playing the role of the clueless boyfriend? Or should I just confront her, demand to know why she lied? Neither option felt right. At 3 a.m, Henderson finally caved and told everyone to go home and get a few hours of sleep before coming back. Dragging my exhausted body, I found myself standing at the bottom of my apartment building. I looked up. The living room light was still on. She was still awake, waiting for me. My heart began to beat faster, my steps becoming hesitant. I stood outside our front door for a long time before finally taking out my keys and quietly letting myself in. Only a single warm, yellow floor lamp was on in the living room. The TV was still on, playing some boring late-night show with the volume turned down low. Sophie was curled up on the sofa, hugging a pillow, seemingly asleep. She was wearing those familiar bunny pajamas, her long hair falling softly across her face. Her breathing was even and deep. On the coffee table, next to her, was a plate of cut fruit and a glass of what was clearly now cold water. The scene was so warm, so familiar, exactly like countless other nights when I had come home late. It was as if what happened at the office today had been nothing but a bizarre, twisted dream. I tiptoed over, intending to grab a blanket to cover her with. But as I got closer, she stirred, blinking her eyes open sleepily. When she saw me, she rubbed her eyes and a soft, drowsy smile spread across her face. "You're home," she mumbled, her voice thick with sleep. She instinctively held out her arms for a hug. "What took you so long? I missed you." Everything was so natural, as if nothing had happened. My body went rigid. I just looked at her, unable to move, unable to lean down and hug her like I always did. The contrast between her cold, scrutinizing glare from the office and her sleepy, pouting face now was too jarring. My silence and strange behavior must have tipped her off. She lowered her arms and sat up a little straighter, studying my face with concern. "What's wrong? Are you exhausted? Or did your boss yell at you?" Her voice was filled with genuine care and sympathy. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, heard it with my own ears, I would never have believed it. She was a hell of an actress. A cold sneer formed in my mind, and a hot flash of anger shot through me. I almost blurted it out. "The one who yelled at me was you." But I bit my tongue and swallowed the words. If I blew up now, what then? A huge fight? Tear everything apart? I wasn't ready for that. I still didn't know what to do. "Yeah, I'm tired," I finally said, avoiding her eyes, my voice hoarse. The proposal wasn't good enough. I got chewed out. I watched her closely, looking for a reaction. A flicker of something, unease, crossed her face. It was gone in an instant, but I saw it. She immediately replaced it with a look of pure sympathy and stood up to take my arm. Don't feel too bad. It's just work. These things happen. She pulled me down to sit on the sofa and started rubbing my shoulders. That boss sounds awful. Why do they have to be so mean? We just take our time and do it right. Her fingers were gentle, her voice soft, but I couldn't relax. I just felt tense and uncomfortable. Every word of comfort now sounded like mockery. Yeah, I mumbled, closing my eyes so she couldn't see the emotion in them. Are you hungry? I can heat up some milk for you. Or make you some ramen? She asked softly. No, I'm not hungry. I shook my head. It's late. You should go to bed. I needed to be alone. She paused, looking a little disappointed, but she nodded. Okay, well, you should get some rest soon, too. Don't work yourself too hard. She stood up and started walking toward the bedroom, looking back every few steps. At the doorway, she stopped, turned around, and said quietly, Hey, Leo, don't put too much pressure on yourself. No matter what, I'm always here for you. Then she went into the bedroom and closed the door. I stared at the closed door, leaned back against the sofa, and let out a long, weary breath. My mind felt like a tangled mess of yarn. That last sentence she said, was a genuine concern? Or just another form of manipulation? For the first time, I realized I might not know this woman I'd been sharing a bed with for the last 6 months at all. The next day, I went to the office with dark circles under my eyes. Between the all-nighter and the emotional turmoil, I was a wreck. We had managed to throw together a new proposal, but I had no idea if it was any good. At 10 a.m., Henderson and I were once again standing nervously outside the CEO's office. But today, instead of just being nervous, I felt a complex mix of emotions and a deep sense of resistance. I had to mentally prepare myself just to face her again. The secretary waved us in. As we entered, she was sitting behind that enormous desk, just like yesterday. Today, she was wearing a dark blue suit with simple pearl earrings, making her look even more severe and professional. She glanced up at us, her eyes pausing on my face for a fraction of a second, completely unreadable, as if I were just any other employee who hadn't gotten enough sleep. The proposal, she said, her voice clipped. Henderson quickly handed her the tablet with the new designs. She looked down, her fingers occasionally swiping across the screen. The office was so quiet I could hear the faint tap of her finger on the glass and the frantic thumping of my own heart. After a few minutes, she put the tablet down. Slightly better than yesterday's pile of garbage. Her evaluation was as blunt as ever, but at least it wasn't an outright rejection. The color palette is passable, but the user flow is still as clumsy as something from a decade ago. She pointed out several specific issues, each one sharp, precise, and impossible to argue with. I had to admit, putting my personal feelings aside, her professional skills and vision were terrifyingly good. Refine it in this direction. I want to see the revised version before the end of the day. She handed the tablet back. Henderson took it, promising they would get it done. You stay, she said suddenly, pointing at me. Henderson froze, shot me a pitying look, and quickly scurried out of the room. And then there were two. My heart leaped into my throat. Why was she keeping me here? What did she want? Was this it? The moment of truth? She didn't speak right away. Instead, she stood up, walked calmly over to the coffee machine, and poured 2 cups. She brought them over, placing one on the coffee table in front of me. Sit, she said, gesturing to the sofa. I sat down stiffly, my heart pounding, completely unable to guess her next move. She sat in the armchair opposite me, elegantly crossing her legs, and took a sip of her coffee. Her movements were calm and unhurried, radiating a sense of complete control that was utterly unnerving. Didn't sleep well last night? She asked. Her tone was neutral, making it impossible to tell if it was concern or a reprimand. I clenched my fists, revising the proposal. It got late. I see. She put down her coffee cup, her eyes on my face. Work is work. You need to be efficient, but you also need to take care of yourself. It sounded like a generic, scripted line from a superior. But coming from her in this situation, it felt surreal. Thank you for your concern, Miss Rose, I said, keeping my head down, my voice formal. She let out a soft laugh. It was quiet, but it sent a chill down my spine. At home, you don't call me that. My head snapped up. I stared at her, stunned. She was admitting it? Just like that? So directly, without any warning, she was tearing down the wall between us? She watched my shocked expression, a faint, knowing smirk playing on her lips, as if she found my reaction amusing. It wasn't the bright, innocent smile she had at home. This one was condescending, almost playful in a cruel way. What? Are you surprised? She raised an eyebrow. My brain stalled again. I opened my mouth, but no sound came out. Surprised? This was a tidal wave. You knew all along. I finally found my voice. It was raw and hoarse. Knew what? She asked, feigning innocence, before her expression shifted. Oh, you mean that you were one of my employees? Her smile deepened. Of course. Those two words hit me like a sledgehammer. She knew. She knew from the very beginning. So for the past 6 months, all my complaints about work, all my rants about my horrible new boss, all of it. In her eyes, it must have been like watching a comedy show. My face burned with a new, intense wave of shame and humiliation. Why? My voice was trembling. Why would you lie to me? She leaned forward, resting her elbows on her knees and cupping her chin in her hand, studying me like I was some fascinating new puzzle. Lie to you? What did I lie about? You never asked me what I did for a living. I just didn't volunteer the information. She said it so casually, as if this 6-month-long deception was a trivial, insignificant detail. The overwhelming feeling of absurdity, of being played, finally broke through my restraint. I shot to my feet, my chest heaving, and stared at that face, a face that now looked so foreign with that mocking smile. Didn't volunteer it? My voice shook with suppressed rage. Sophie, no, Ms. Rose, was it fun? These past 6 months, watching me act like an idiot, complaining about my boss to my boss? Was it fun sitting up on your throne, judging me, deciding the fate of my project? Did it give you a thrill, watching me get so happy over one of your fake words of comfort? Did you feel powerful, watching me work my ass off because you pretended to feel sorry for me? Was it the best game ever, keeping me in the dark, playing with me like a puppet, switching between your two little roles? I was using every ounce of my willpower not to scream, but the dam of my repressed anger and disappointment had burst. The air in the office crackled with tension. The smirk on her face slowly faded. She just watched me, her expression unreadable, her beautiful eyes filled with a complex mix of emotions. It seemed she hadn't expected such a strong reaction from me. My accusations hung in the silent office before fading away, leaving only the sound of my own ragged breathing. I glared at her, waiting for her answer, waiting for judgment. After a few seconds of suffocating silence, she stood up too. Just when I thought she was going to hit me with another cold, corporate response, she did something I never would have expected. She walked around the coffee table, closed the distance between us in a few quick steps, and she opened her arms and gently wrapped them around my waist. She buried her face in my chest. My entire body went rigid, as if I'd been turned to stone. The cold scent of her perfume was gone, replaced by the familiar, faint, sweet smell of her hair. This smell, this hug, it was exactly the same as all the times she'd cuddled up to me at home. Babe, her muffled voice came from my chest, laced with a hint of what sounded like remorse and a plea. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hide it from you. I really didn't. Her arms tightened around me, and she nuzzled her head against my chest. At first, I just thought it was kind of funny, and then I was scared that if you knew, you'd feel pressured, and you wouldn't be the same with me anymore. Look at you now. You're so mean to me. She tilted her head up. Her eyes were glistening. The tip of her nose was a little red, and her lips were turned down in a slight pout. It was the exact same face my girlfriend made when she did something wrong and was afraid I'd be mad. The whiplash was so intense my brain shut down again. Where did the cool, calculating CEO go? And who was this adorable, apologetic girl cuddling in my arms? My throat was dry. All the anger, all the questions I had prepared were completely disarmed by this sudden hug and her sweet apology. I didn't know how to react. Please don't be mad at me, okay? Honey, she whispered, her fingers finding the hem of my shirt and tugging it gently. I'll never hide anything from you again. I'll tell you everything, okay? Just forgive me this one time, please. She blinked her big eyes at me, full of sincere apology and a sliver of hopeful expectation. My heart, which had been a tight knot of anger, felt like it was being squeezed by a warm hand, then gently released. All my rage, my hurt, my pride. It all felt so powerless, so fragile in the face of her full force, unapologetic charm. What could I do? Looking at this face that I loved so much, at this person I was so used to protecting and spoiling, even after she just pulled the rug out from under my entire world, I realized the truest voice in my head was one of helpless surrender. I don't think I'm capable of actually staying mad at her, especially not when she was like this, so soft and pleading. I took a deep breath and let it out in a long, slow sigh. The tension finally started to drain from my body. Sensing my resolve weakening, her eyes lit up. She pressed her advantage, hugging me tighter, her voice becoming even sweeter. You're not saying anything, so I'm going to take that as a yes. You forgive me, right? I looked down at the woman in my arms, who had just transformed in an instant and was now smiling like a cat that got the cream. I felt a mix of frustration, amusement, and a strange, overwhelming sense of relief. I'm so completely helpless when it comes to you.